You join me from the interior of probably one of the most special Mercedes Benz I've ever been in, and I can guarantee you've never seen one like this before. This is a Mercedes Benz 600 Pullman, the kind of car that a dictator would buy back in the 60s and 70s. However, you might notice the interior does not look like the interior of a 600 Pullman. In fact, it looks rather more modern, and that is because over 3 million euros was spent on this car at Mercedes-Benz Classic to transform the interior of this car to that of a modern Maybach. That's right, this is a 600 Pullman, but it's a modern Maybach inside. And believe me, there are some special features on this car. So in this video, we're going to take a full look around every single one of those. So this particular car is a 1975 Mercedes-Benz 600 Pullman. As mentioned, these are seriously special cars, and you had to be someone important to be driving one of these. However, this car has had a little bit of a makeover. In fact, Mercedes-Benz Classic said this was one of their most extensive ever restorations, as mentioned, costing over 3 million euros to complete. One thing you might notice straight away is the colour of this car. It might just look like white. We're here in the studio, so maybe the colour's coming out right, maybe it isn't. It's actually a pearl colour, which is not the sort of thing you would have got back in 1970. This is Perlmutt Weiss, which is pearl white in English, and it is a super deep, really flecky. It's got a bit of blue, it's got a bit of green in it. Definitely not the kind of colour that you'd normally expect on a classic Mercedes-Benz. So that's the first hint that this car is not something normal. And of course, they've done the hubcaps to match, which is a nice touch. But then if you come look over here, another hint, and this is something you would not have got on a Mercedes-Benz 600, is the roof. They've taken the roof from a modern Maybach 62S, and transplanted it into this 600. So this is a serious job. It's not just a case of a repaint and a retrim. There's so many details on this car that had a lot of work put into them. Coming around the back, mechanically this car is mostly the same as a 600. In fact, we'll show the engine bay later. It's immaculate because it's been restored, but it's exactly the same. The engine's the same, the hydraulic suspension is the same as that you would have found on the 600 back in the 60s and 70s. This car is in completely immaculate condition. If you come around here, you can probably see the yellow pearl effect in that colour really standing out. But this car is all about the interior. So now we're going to have a look inside and show you around all the crazy details, and there's some crazy details on this car.
So you might not actually have 3 million euros to spend on restoring and maintaining your car, but by the magic of YouTube, we're here with my own Audi R8, another fine German car, and I want to show you how I look after it. So what's my secret? It is, of course, what's inside this little box here, which saves me thousands of pounds every year in car maintenance, and it could save you the same. It is the Carly OBD2 reader. This plugs in down here. All modern cars are the same. They have an OBD2 port, and it allows you to basically connect to your car and find out everything that's going on with it. So, what can I tell about this, my Audi R8? First of all, we're going to fire it up. Hear that V8. Now the Carly very simply connects via Bluetooth to my mobile phone. So first up, we're going to diagnose the car. We're going to check for any issues. And this is really good to make sure if you're going to take your car on track, you're going to take it on a road trip, that there's nothing wrong with it and you're not getting any surprises along the way. So we'll just run a check and we'll see if any errors come up with this car. Fingers crossed that it's nice and clean. So unfortunately 11 issues came up with this car, which might sound alarming, but it's actually pretty normal on a car to have issues stored on the ECU. And it could be those minor things like a bulb was out or the fuel was low or whatever. But thankfully the Carly allows me to clear them and check again later. It'll even send me a reminder in a few days if I want to check the ECU again to make sure that none of those errors have come back. Another great feature this has, and you can use this when you're going to look at a used car that you want to buy, is the used car check. So first up, if I put the registration in, it does a free history check on this car. It tells me the mileage, it tells me the MOT history, it even tells me the chassis number. These are all things that you normally have to pay for with other services, but thankfully, Carly has it all there. So complete peace of mind when going to buy a used car, to the extent that it will even check the ECUs in the car to make sure the mileages all correspond. So no discrepancy whatsoever between the 7 ECUs in this car in the mileage. So I know that this car has not been clocked. And the last thing you can do with Carly is coding your car. And thankfully on the R8 there are loads of possibilities. You can change how the mirrors fold in, the auto windows, closing them from the key, even down to how many seconds the headlight washers spray when I want to wash them, which is just the attention to detail is just incredible. But I've found one cool little feature, which means when I lock this car, it'll make a little beep to tell me that it's locked, just to reassure me, which is nice. So I'm going to turn that on and see how I get on. So let's test it and see if it worked. Shut the door, lock the car, and it made a beep. And trust me, the car did not used to do that before. And that is all thanks to this magic little box, the Carly. So it's told me that this car is healthy, it's told me that this car has not been clocked, and it has allowed me to customize it. And I want you to get one of these too with my discount code, link down in the description. Use BHP15 to save 15% off your Carly scanner. So back inside the car, obviously I'm in the driver's seat. A car like this is normally meant to be experienced from the back. And there's even a partition here that raises up that completely seals off the back, so you can have private conversations or whatever else you want to do in the back of your 600 Pullman. But first I thought I'd show you the front, because there are some cool things to see here. First of all, you're greeted by these quite modern looking Mercedes Benz lit up sills, not a feature that you'd have in the 600. But then on the inside we've got a mixture of old school and new school. So we've got the classic Becker radio, which may have some secret USB or Bluetooth feature, or it might literally be from the 70s, I'm not sure. We've got all of the clocks, which are really nice, but everything's been completely retrimmed in Maybach leather with this lovely contrast stitching, and then all of this wood's completely immaculate, because I imagine it's all brand new. It's saying just 1,100 kilometers on the clock. I imagine that's since restoration, not ever. We'll quickly fire this car up, just so I can show you more of these features down here. Old school key, they've not changed that. As mentioned, the engine, other than being restored, is untouched. But we'll hear it firing to life. There it goes. Hopefully you can still hear me over the engine. We've got the Alpine head unit, which is probably looking a little bit retro now. It was around about 10 years ago that this restoration was done, so obviously some things do get out of date, but easy to replace that, I should imagine. Again, surrounded by all this lovely wood. We've got ventilated seats, which is a very nice feature and not something that you would have got in a Pullman. AV on, I imagine this controls, there's television screens and all sorts back there, so we'll check them out in a minute. Oh look, as the aerial comes up, right on cue. So back here we've got all the modern features that you might expect, and then this is very typical of modern Maybachs. You've got the temperature, you've got the clock, and you've got your current speed. Of course, we're currently doing 0, but it's nice to sit in the back and see that you're cruising at 250 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn. And then above us, we've got this amazing skylight. I showed you the panoramic roof cut into the roof of this car. It's actually not a straight up panoramic roof. Instead, we've got this very classy, like you get in the Maybach 62. It's actually electrochromatic, so I'll press the button, but you saw it, there you go, look at that. Goes transparent and then goes see-through again. If you really want to make things dark in here, you can actually cover the whole thing up. So this is a seriously clever roof that they've had to install in this car. It couldn't have been easy. And then there should be a button for the partition. I have not been able to find it yet. Oh, I found a good button. Okay, I thought the TV was a bit small. I knew there would be a bigger TV hidden in there. Look at that, that's brilliant. Oh, and it says Mercedes on it, right on cue. That's proper. You definitely would not have got that in a 600 Pullman in the 70s. More things to look at back here, the kind of things that you would find in a Maybach from this era. We've got all of the buttons you could ever want. I don't even know what most of these do. And then this dates it. We've got the iPod connector, more buttons for the television, more buttons for the vented seats back here. And then very typical of a Maybach. Sadly, they're not in here, but we've got the holder for the champagne glasses and the holder for the champagne as well. So you can sit back here and enjoy a drink. And then I'm literally just opening things and seeing what I find now. I've got no idea what's going to be under here. Oh yeah, there's the fridge. Very good, nothing in there at the moment, unsurprisingly. And then down here, secret compartment. We've got all sorts of audio-visual connections, I guess, if you wanted to plug your PlayStation in or something. And one more feature that you might have spotted glistening away while we've been talking is the Swarovski crystals that are all the way along the top of the ceiling, even in the front compartment. Imagine being the person, and we'll touch on who ordered this in a minute, imagine being the person that ordered this car, went to Mercedes Benz, very serious people at Mercedes Benz, and said that you wanted diamante on the ceiling of your 600 Pullman. And it's actually seriously comfortable back here. As mentioned, these are Maybach seats taken straight out of the Maybach 62S, completely trimmed in a one-off pomegranate red Maybach leather, super high quality in here, really comfortable. Of course they recline as well, heated, cooled, and then you've got the seats opposite you as well. So you can have 6 people on board in this car in complete comfort. And obviously it's got the old school hydraulic suspension, but really still super smooth. And speaking of hydraulics,
We've got these windows. Look how quickly they open and close. You do not want to put your finger in that because it would take it straight off. Mercedes Classic didn't do anything to the engine in terms of upgrade. Obviously, they completely restored it. And you can see under here, the engine bay is immaculate. This is the 6.3 litre V8 that was the 600 was known for. Later went on to be in the SEL to make the AMG Red Pig and so on. But 250 horsepower in this car was plenty in the 60s and 70s, still plenty now. This car can cruise along at a very nice speed in complete comfort. Everything's completely brand new under here. The condition, as mentioned, is amazing. And believe me, it's hard to find parts on these cars. So I can only imagine how long the restoration took on this car with obviously all of the extra work, never mind just restoring one of these as standard. Hopefully you can see that pearl colour as well, really coming out under the lights at the moment. So I said it was a shame there were no champagne glasses in the back. Do not worry, I found them. I saw this box with Maybach on it, and I knew that this was going to be good. Let's take a look inside this very quickly. We've got something special in this little red bag. Open it up and see what's inside. There you go. That is a silver champagne flute with Maybach written on it. That, and it looks like it's never been used. That is proper. How cool is that? In the boot, there's more to see. It's quite dark in here, but hopefully you can see it anyway. We've got a giant subwoofer to go with that Alpine system. Again, you would not have had that in the 1970s. Spare wheel in there, and then they've completely retrimmed the whole boot in like a black suede or Alcantara. And again, these boots, I think there's a button, I could be wrong. If I press that, there you go, that could have taken my hand off. Thankfully it didn't, but that's hydraulically controlled. Again, one of the crazy features from the original Pullman, not something that Mercedes Benz Classic added in. This car is absolutely huge. One of the longest cars available at the time, and probably still one of the longest cars now. And a little detail all the way at the front of this long car. These are flag holders, and that's another clue to the people that would have owned this car, because of ambassadors, royal families and so on, would need the flag of their country or whatever waving at the front so everyone would know who was coming. One very nice detail, common of all 600 Pullmans, is the way that the fuel filler is hidden in this little trapdoor, but completely immaculate in there. Everything's like brand new. As mentioned, this car completely restored by Mercedes Benz Classic. But hopefully you'll agree that this car's pretty special. Hopefully you've never seen anything like it before. I certainly hadn't heard of a 600 Pullman with a full Maybach 62S interior. But here at Mechatronik, it is the home of seriously special cars. And this car is a bargain. I said the restoration alone, never mind the price of the car, cost over 3 million euros. And you can buy this car here at Mechatronik for just 1.5 million euros. So that makes it truly a bargain. Sadly, I don't have 1.5 million euros, but I probably would like to have something pretty cool like this in my collection if I did. And I mentioned the owner of this car, or rather the people that commissioned to have this car built. I can't say exactly who, but it was a royal family. They ordered the car was built, but they never took it. They never paid for it. So it's ended up here at Mechatronik. Obviously, they didn't like it in the end, or I don't know what, or they ran out of money, probably more likely. But it's here at Mechatronik for you to buy. So truly special, one of a kind, done by Mercedes Benz, not just done by anyone, proper work by Mercedes Benz, all that clever work with the roof, with the interior. This is a very special car. Thank you to Mechatronik for letting me come see it, and I hope you enjoy this video.